let's set this one up. So an interval AB, got some sort of interval AB, and it's got a center O, all right, so we know that these are equal to each other. Subtends an angle, so an angle is hanging off it at 90 degrees, so this means that's 90 degrees. Subtends an angle at point P, and we want to prove the circle with the diameter of AB passes through point P. So can you imagine, here's a circle, oops, and the center of the circle is O. So what we are looking at here is, for example, this distance here being R, so we could make it vector R, so then that would mean this one here would be minus R if we're talking in vectors. And what we're trying to show is that, because we need to show that it also goes through P, then OP, that vector OP must also be, we'll label it P at the moment, little p, but we want to show that it's also the same length as vector R, and then that would mean that P has to lie on the circle if AB is the diameter of that circle. All right, so how are we going to do that? Well, we are given the 90 degree there, so we do know that our vector PA and PB, when we do the dot product of those, we do get 0. So we know that. So a couple of things we know. What have I done? I've let vector OA be R, vector R, and I've let vector OP be vector P. And then that would also mean that vector OB would be negative R, negative little r. All right, so I'm interested in vector PA and PB because when I dot them, I get 0, that I'm using that 90 degree that I'm given. So let's make sure we've got vector, our PA and our PB. So our PA vector, P to A would be, another way round from P to A would be P to O, and then O to A. So that would be little vector P. So each time I'm using the big letters and then going to the little vectors, and then R, okay, and then vector PB is the other one I'm after, and the other way around would be to go from P to O. Did I make my P to O? I made it go the other way. I made it minus P. Didn't I? Did I? All right, so P to O is going to be minus P. Okay. And so PB would be PO, which is minus P, plus PO plus OB, which is minus R. All right, so I've got those. All right, so when I do the dot product of PA dotted with PB, I know I'm going to get 0. So I've got, but I'll write it on this side. So I'll write it this way, R minus P, and then minus, I'll put the minus out the front, P plus R. I'll just factorize by that minus. All right, so I'm going to get that dotted with that, which has to be 0. So minus, and you think about it here, we're going to get R dot P plus R dot R minus P dot P minus P dot R. Goodness gracious. All right, so hopefully something cancels there. So RP cancels with minus RP. So now I'm going to put this minus through. So instead of negative P dot P, I'm going to get, and P dot P we know is that. Then we're going to get minus the R dot R's, which is that. All right, and that has to equal 0. So I know that if I put this on the other side, that these have to be equal to each other. Therefore, their lengths have to be equal to each other. So now we know that OP, O to P, that interval, so I'm not putting it as a vector now, O to P is the same as O to the A distance, that interval, and O to the B, O to the B, O to B. So the circle with diameter AB must pass through the point P.